which was not marketed the right way to consumer, but resonated very well with industry and enterprise, much like HoloLens or Magic Leap. And today, in order to really tap into the consumer market,
what do I have to say? So I didn't know you personally before, but then I understand that you know about these things, and then that's why thank you very much for agreeing to make an extra workshop yesterday, which was not planned. It was not planned, but okay, if you're coming over here, it was
amazing.
It was amazing. Great. So just make that on your LinkedIn post. Epic is amazing. We love it, and that will be good enough. Anyway, we've enough with that. Floor is yours. 10 minutes. Thank you very much for joining us back now.
Thank you. So I have two hats. I have my Google hat, but I also have my SPIE hat. I'm going to wear both hats today, which allows me to speak about topics that are not necessarily linked to Google, but really linked to the optics and photonics community. So my field is AR, which is now called mostly XR or multimodal AI, and I'm going to talk about the long journey to find the right market echo for these technologies. We're living in a very interesting time today. These are the Google trends for smart glasses and AI glasses, and you can see that over the past few months that interest went exponential. Even Google Glass, I was working on this 15 years ago, didn't even put a blink on the radar, but since Meta, Ray-Ban, and of course the investment of Essilor, this interest went exponential. Of course, for the past few months, it plateaued. I love things to see plateauing. I don't like things to interest to grow it exponentially and end in a bubble. But really plateauing is what you want to do. This is really what you see on the Gartner hype cycle also. It's a peak of inflated expectations and then plateauing to show product. That did not happen for everything. These are the trends for metaverse. Metaverse, of course, that's why Facebook changed its name to Meta, was meant to be the main application realm for XR headsets. Well, that did not go very well. That was maybe a good idea during the pandemic, yes, but we are very much over the pandemic and the world is again the same as before. So that didn't go well. So it completely collapsed, and Meta, of course, is now focusing way more on AI glasses than XR headsets. Other trends, and I want to talk about this also, very fast. CPO, co-packaged optics. Well, these trends went up exponentially in the past few months, and you know this very well, with companies like VIAVI and many others having an amazing stock chart increase. Now, let's look at the global picture and go 20 years back when VIAVI was actually called JDSU. And you can see that, going exponentially is good, but usually it comes down exponentially also. Optics and photonics have two world records. The first world record is right there at that peak. The largest loss on the NASDAQ in dollars, JDSU, more than $50 billion. Of course, in 2008, banks did much better than optics, but that was in 2001. And then the second world record is Kodak. The largest loss on the NASDAQ in percent. So if you think that optics and photonics is boring, well, think again. You have two main records. Other companies like Coherent, and we're going to talk here about Coherent also, are also banking on this amazing opportunity, and many other companies, and they have not been affected by this, by the DWDM bubble in the early 2000s. So today, smart glasses are not really novelty anymore. They become necessity. And why? Because For the first time since 20 years, we have all three stars aligned. The first star is you. It's the optics and photonics community. It's the ecosystem. It's a hardware ecosystem. Light engines, waveguides, sensors, compute, comms, but especially everything that is related to display, to imaging, and sensing, the three pillars of every XR headset or AI glasses. And this is really produced by the optics and photonics community. But it's hard. It's hard. Making a waveguide at consumer levels, at enterprise levels or defense level, there's no problem. At consumer level cost, it is a problem. Making light edges, micro LED panels at monolithic micro LED panels at lower cost is really complicated. And I usually refer to the OPU boom in the 1980s, and the lady from Doha actually referred to it also. The only way that the Japanese companies, not only Japanese companies, but mainly Japanese companies, were able to reduce the costs of hundreds of glass optics, lasers, optomechanics, dynamics, integrated on a little piece of glass, which is called the optical pickup unit, to be sold at a few dollars was by working together, by having consortiums of companies that had the same goal, reducing the building blocks of critical optical systems. That was Philips, that was Panasonic, that was Sony, and that was Sharp. And they worked together in order to reduce the costs. I think we need to see this also today for waveguide and display engines. The second star is a generic platform. We have it today, Android XR, Vision OS for Apple and many others. And then the use case, what are you going to do with these glasses? Well, today there's an agreement among many different smart glass developers that the all-day use case is actually the multimodal AI assistant on your head. And this is really what Mark Zuckerberg wanted to do 10 years ago. Well, backwards 10 years later, he did it. According to Stefano Passi, Essilor CFO, who owns Ray-Ban and Oakley, Ray-Ban Meta glasses, the AI glasses, are the top-selling products in many Ray-Ban stores, and of course that was very welcome for the Essilor. This is not the Meta chart, stock chart. This is the Essilor stock chart. Now, of course, that was last year. There's today. There's a little readjustment because there was too much exuberance end of last year. But nevertheless, it's there's a lot of push in this field. Less push on the XR glass, on the XR headsets, the Meta Quest. And you can see the annual operating losses. These are in $1 billion, not $1 million. And of course, Meta some months ago is shutting down its VR metaverse. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we had Google Glass also, which was not marketed the right way to consumer, but resonated very well with industry and enterprise, much like HoloLens or Magic Leap. And today, in order to really tap into the consumer market, Google is developing the Android XR platform, which is used today on our first product, which is the Galaxy XR with Samsung. And then smart goggles. These are not really smart glasses, smart goggles with X-Wheel. And then, of course, smart glasses, or should I say, AI glasses or AI eyewear or smart eyewear. With partners, of course, these are not consumer electronic devices. These are eyewear devices to be sold, to be designed and sold by eyewear partners, such as, well, in the case of Meta, it's Essilor, and Mark Zuckerberg made a check of $5 billion, right, to Essilor to buy some shares. We made a few checks also to Gentle Monster and Warby Parker and Kering, who owns Gucci and many other glasses. These glasses will come out very soon as AI glasses. Today, we're talking about optics and photonics. Optics and photonics are the key technologies that will enable this this revolution. Now, photonics is a key enabling technology that helps build up successive tech waves. Maybe that's the most important slide, and I'm going to take 1 minute to go through this slide. We went through many different bubbles in the past 10 years. This is the optical computing bubble. This is the DWDM telecommunication bubble. This is all optics and photonics. The optical data storage bubble, the pico projector bubble, the AR, VR, MR boom. It hasn't made yet, so it's still a boom. The metaverse bubble, multimodal AI boom, which actually piggybacks on the AR, VR, MR boom, and then of course the CPU and Pixar boom. Very, very fast, longer duration journey for slanted waveguide gratings, which are the workforce for smart glasses display. Well, they have been developed not for display, but for optical clock broadcasting in multi-chip modules over the optical computing bubble of the 90s. And then developed further over the optical telecom bubble. And then over the page data storage holographic bubble, and many others, in order finally to bring us great technologies for optical combiners in smart glasses. Again, everything started not with a display, but with optical clock broadcasting that was in the early 1990s, slanted grating waveguides, and then in the 10 years later as smart glasses. Very quickly, I'm going to talk about the different smart glasses before concluding. They're not only waveguide-based glasses, there are also free space glasses, such as the reflective visors from Engo and Everisight. Here's a spider chart that shows the efficiency, the field of view, image quality, privacy, eye box, wearable comfort, affordability, and all-day use case. And of course, you want to address all of them. Well, this is a sport device, doesn't address all of them. Bird bath goggles, of course, use micro OLED display engines and might address everything but all-day use cases. You don't want to wear them going downstairs. Nano-imprint lithography, surface wave grating waveguides are great, but their efficiency is a little bit low, and privacy is a problem because there's eye leakage going to the world side. It's not an easy problem to solve. Billions of dollars have been poured in, and light still wants to go where it wants to go. Edged waveguides are better in efficiency, but of course are a little bit more expensive. Geometric waveguides, such as the one in the Ray-Ban display, are great, but they're actually a little bit expensive still. And silicon carbide waveguides that were shown by Meta 2 years ago, 70 degrees field of view, are great, but they're just so expensive. $10,000 for a pair. That's a little bit too expensive. So, is there? Yeah, and that's part of the $80 billion losses that Mark Zuckerberg incurred. This is my conclusion slide. Is there a technology today that will address all sides of this spider chart? Well, no, but I'm confident that with a consortium like what I see today, optics and photonics, and also seeing what happened in the past for optical pickup units, I'm confident that we will be able to find solutions, especially reducing costs of the display engine, the waveguide combiner, and of course the sensing and display systems in a lesser way. So I'm counting on you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm going to use a lot. Thank you for the nice colors, bubbles. Fits very nicely, but I like that one, which because you end up with questions and challenges. That's what we like to have up here. Any questions you want to ask? Yes, over there, please.
Hi, thanks for the talk. One question is that you mentioned